Some of you might be thinking ki I might give a speech on art. That's how a lot of you know me. But it's something else altogether. See, you guys were little when we saw each other in a way, or we worked together. Now, as you guys have grown, I have grown as well, right? So the things that were important to me then maybe have the meaning and the importance is less. And other things are there which I feel are extremely important for you now that you have grown up. So I want to start with something and talk about stories. And these are not the stories you see on TV or television. These are the stories which is going on inside of you. Your life story. Similar to my life story. Right? Now these stories are what you see on TV or when you meet someone. These stories are actually very different than what's going inside. And some of you can relate to it. Right? You only see a glimpse of that story. But what is actually happening inside, sometimes nobody gets to know. Now, all these concepts that are external to you, we sometimes associate ourselves so much that you forget what's your own story. And therefore, let's say, right now the status of India in terms of mental health. You have anywhere between 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh suicides happening each year in India itself. Okay? Students alone can comprise some 13 to 30,000 students each year. Why do you think this is happening? And I actually hear from people, and I'm talking about real life scenario, when people are telling me, okay, oh, that person was of a scientific bent of mind. How can he commit suicide? These are coming from people that I've heard. And recently I heard, oh, he had a lovely career. How could he? Alright? So this shows us a great gap in understanding people. And that gap, what I've realized, is coming from because we do not understand ourselves. And once you start understanding yourself, and once you start spending time with your own emotions, your own character, is when you will actually start understanding the people outside. So I'm saying, instead of going out and absorbing in, I'm saying go in first. Try to realize your own potential, your own character, your own story, and then go out to the world and achieve what you want to achieve. When I was in my 4th year, that's my final year of graduation, okay? So I did a project, the client and a friend. So the friend was a client, in a way. And after the whole project was done, I spent almost 6 months plus my own money, a lot of things. The project was scrapped after it was done. And the question which kept reoccurring in my mind for a year, every few weeks, was why me? Why did it happen? And when you do not get answers to such questions, that's when it starts to go, you start to go low. And you start to swirl down, and this vortex of thoughts kept coming for a whole year. And generally, thoughts and emotions or negative emotions don't trouble me too much, generally in life. But when they do hit you, then you don't know what to do. And for one whole year I suffered miserably. And then out of desperation, it was a new year, I picked up a phone, called them and said, Happy New Year. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And can you imagine, in a single day, I'm not saying completely I became fine and I forgot what happened. No. But I was fine. It stopped troubling me immediately after that small communication. So that kind of gave me an insight how important communication is, and we don't. Most of us are actually keeping everything inside. All the stories, all that narration, all those dialogues are happening internally, but not with the person with whom it should happen. And therefore communication and expression, that's why arts come in, self-expression. They're extremely important to say what you have to say. Now, another incident I'll tell you. When I was teaching in a college, I'm also a mentor. The first year students, I got to know around 3 to 4 students had already tried to commit suicide even before coming to first year of college. I'm giving you data about how prevalent and how often it happens. And don't think, oh, it's something. And most of us don't understand, because I never understood this. Only through life experience I started understanding these things. So can you imagine that till what degree of misery someone has to go through, and pain and recurring pain, to actually take a step like that? Then my introduction to panic and panic attack happened in the same college, and it was because of the classic reason of love, right, and relationships. So I was in a relationship which was not healthy for me. All right, it was not going anywhere. And one day I'm walking to the college in the morning, and suddenly everything becomes slow. And then my legs become extremely heavy, I cannot move them. Then my breathing becomes extremely difficult. I'm trying to breathe, my vision is getting a little blurry. Alright, and that's when I got to know, I'm like, what the hell is happening to my body? And that's when I got to know this is what a panic attack is. And I took that as a clue. I also ended the relationship, whatever, etc. However, unless you experience these things, even if you reject them, you don't believe in them, you think you're too good for it, you are strong. But when they do happen to you, at that point of time, you cannot learn how to swim. There is a reason why you get trained before, so that when something happens, you know exactly what to do. At least you're a little better prepared. I'm not saying you're going to march like a rock star through depression. However, you are prepared a little better, and that's where I'm getting into. When I was a little child, my personality used to get extremely affected by the news. And news is all about corruption and violence and injustice and etc. And I'm a child who is extremely affected by it. So I would talk to my mother about killing politicians and become very angry. And it was concerning. A child like that and wrong company and wrong environment can totally be devastating. And then, okay, I learned, okay, I will not see news, and then I went through my whole bout of, a part of it is in the previous tech talk. But then in third year of college, can you imagine, that came back. When I was 8 to 10 years old, now I'm like 20 years old, 21, when this is coming back. And suddenly I'm angry at the world again. There's nothing wrong with my life, I'm extremely happy. But the world, global problems affect me. Now that's my personality. And I actually seriously think about, do I work to destroy the humanity and the world, or do I work to constructively work positively towards it? That's a very dangerous thing. Can you imagine? I'm expressing myself, I'm telling you. When a person has these violent thoughts, okay, again, wrong company, wrong environment would have been totally, I would be making maybe crime attack or something instead of art attack, right? So, luckily in the first year of my college, my mother forced me into spirituality, okay, pranically. And I was like, what is this? I don't believe in either religion too much or God and etc. But spirituality was something over time, first year, second year, third year, practicing, I could start not just understanding, experiencing something, a shift. So when this point came in my third year, when I'm wondering, okay, do I work for the negative side of nature or the positive side? I realized that through karmic law, which we have studied, anything negative I do is never going to create anything positive. Ulta, I am going to bear all that repercussion of. Secondly, historically and statistically, violence has never created peace. So I'm like, okay, this side of the answer, there is no answer actually. So I stuck to the boring positive side. Okay, from now on I'm going to work on the constructive side. And that was the last time I actually went through those thoughts about being extremely negative about the world. Because through my practices and through meditation and etc., I found a lot of beauty in life. Plus added is my design background, which has art and visuals and colors and people. So I love understanding people. Alright? And now I see a lot of beauty in the variety that human beings come as. It's beautiful. You have to really experience it. Alright? I think the next evolution that we are looking for it's not going to get complete. And that's why I'm looking forward to the new generation. Because these things were absolutely rejected by the previous generations. You guys are bringing it up. You are talking about mental health. And you are talking about, I need to take a break. I need an off from my job because I'm not feeling well. So you have to really own it up for your generation. And it's a much needed change that we're looking for. Alright? So you have to understand what is self-pressure or what is societal pressure. You have to separate the two. You have to be very clear. You have to put pressure on yourself. I put pressure on myself. But on things which I like, which I want to achieve. I'll give an example. My counterparts, we have different hosts. I'm not naming them, but we have different hosts, similar television hosts in India, right? My counterparts have Instagram followers anywhere between, one has like 2 million plus, another has 150,000 plus, mine 8K. Okay? So don't you think that will create a pressure on me? Because I'm coming from the similar field, comparison is there, peer-to-peer pressure. You guys have it. I would have it too, naturally. So over time what I realized was, that is not the zone. I changed my own rules of the game. How do I evaluate? What are my rubrics of evaluating my own life? That's what I work on. And therefore I removed that public acknowledgement is not my key rubric for success. I decide how and where I'm successful. And the problem with this narrow range of success, so-called, which the world propagates, it kills possibilities. You know what that means? Because you could have been successful in a million ways, but no, you can only be successful if you have enough money or fame or name. Isn't that limiting? Extremely limiting. You could have an aptitude, like I told you, I have an aptitude of a mentor. I'm better at as a mentor than a performer, or even as an artist. If I did not sit with myself and realize what I really want to do, I would have never reached that realization. Alright? So, and the measure of success like we have discussed, you have to create your own rubrics. When I'm growing up now, I realized, okay, I work in education and learning. And the reason is because I love interacting with students and children. So it started with children. So Art Attack did not actually just give me a name and fame. It introduced me to children, and from there I found my passion for education and learning. Alright? So, when I say choose your battle, I was working in Jaisalmer for a year, in a rural school. For 1 year I stayed there. I worked with a small village called Darbari. And those kids are, it's a really remote school, like they don't have electricity, they don't have chappals, they might be coming barefoot to the school. And now, as you know, in Rajasthan and in India, you have too many taboos and too many, child marriages are happening. Education is a problem. Caste is prevalent completely. All these things you are experiencing every day, almost. Now, as an educator, I've gone there as an educator, right? I chose, you can choose, you want to fight everything, fight everything. I chose to stick to education. You have to put sometimes blinkers, because when you try to achieve everything, sometimes you don't achieve anything. Because there are other people who are dedicatedly working in different parts of social sector and social impact, right? You cannot do everything. Anything you want to do well is a full-time job. So when you have to choose your battles, you really have to sometimes say, okay, I cannot do everything, let me focus in one, try to work there, and rest, you have to insulate yourself. There is no other way. So if you make everything a part of an environment, then it will become extremely overwhelming. That's why we have to curate. You only put in your environment, in your psyche, in your story, what works for you, what challenge you would like to take on. If you put everything, anybody would get overwhelmed. That's a formula to stress, actually. Now, in the new systems, you have to become a participant. You can't be just a bystander and let things happen. So, earlier systems are pyramidal. CEO, and then CFO, and COO, and then like the pyramid goes on. The older generation understands pyramid, and therefore they also surrender to a pyramid very soon. They know their place, as they say. The new systems are not going to work on the same way. I'm not saying the companies are going to change their structures, no. But if you guys want to succeed, create more natural, organic systems. You know how nature is? How gut is? Millions and billions of things coexist. They figure out a way. So you guys, your power is, don't try to, you want to start up a business? Don't go alone. Take 10 people along with you. All those 10 people will have their own personal agenda to do with that business. Somebody wants money, somebody wants to do social media, and therefore, through the business, everybody earns, of course, that's the prime goal, right? But don't do it together. Collaborate, collaborate, and collaborate as much as possible. Because when you have to collaborate, you will go through the conflict of emotions and ideology and other things, and that's how you, when you come to know, work it out. How do we work together? You know, there is a Netflix documentary of how to become a tyrant, and one of the steps, one of the first few steps in how to become a tyrant is control information. So what do you think they are doing by controlling information? And that's a tactic which even the West has taught us now. Indian politics is learning from the Western one. It's all about marketing. So what marketing is, they create a story for you. Alright? So say I'm a child and parents are like, oh, don't run, you'll fall. Oh, don't climb a tree, you'll fall. But when I grow up, nobody has to tell me that I have to, like, you know, if I do something, I'll fall. I've already experienced it. But then why do people have to tell you that this is bad and that is great and this is wrong and that is right again and again? If you understand politics, religion, ads, they keep telling you, oh, you don't have great skin, apply this. Because it is not true. They have to sell it to you. If it was true, nobody would have to tell you. You would go running to them, hey, please give me something, this is great for me, you know. So you have to understand that this narrative is extremely powerful. One of the most powerful tool of the world is narration and narrative building. And governments, ads, filmmakers, religions use this so that they can create a story for you and you don't get the chance to create your own story. Now, because my loyalty is towards you guys and the younger generation, it's not my religion that I come from or this, you know, because you guys, without people, what is a country, and without people, what is a college? It's a building and it's a piece of land. Do you understand what I mean? The most important people are the people in the whole equation. And therefore, I want to tell you, you have to curate your own story. Work on it. It's a long path, it's not a shortcut, but you have to understand this point very clearly. When you also idealize, now there is a problem in that situation. When you idolize someone, what happens is you already have surrendered your identity in front of the other person. You already think you're lower than the other person, right? When you idolize, that's the expression, right? Now, you can get inspired, great. You can appreciate people, great. But keep your identity as the central pillar. Don't just give it out, okay, I'm less and you're more. Because then the problem is, what happens is, you know, I can be a great orator and a terrible father. I can be a great artist and not so good a son or a daughter. That's what human is. But what we correlate is, oh, that's a great actor, it's perfect, wo to galat kar hi nahi sakta, right? And therefore, any news comes of this particular person, there are supporters suddenly for something wrong. Now, I'm not saying, of course, the law is going to tell you who is right and wrong, investigation and so forth. But build yourself around philosophy, around principles and not people. When I say people, I mean you don't start following someone so much that you forget that they're also human. Because that's how wrong or the things which are unhealthy also get a lot of support. My message for the youth today would be the same, that life is a dynamic story and a storytelling, and you should actively participate to create, curate add, subtract, remove, whatever it takes to stay healthy, to stay mindful, to stay strong. So with this, I would like to end my talk, and I would like to say that create your stories and paint your canvases, and I wish you all the very best. Thank you.